We like to tell ourselves that life starts and stops, but really it's only stories that do. I think there are 3 key ways that a story can be told. And maybe this is going to sound simple, but I promise I'm getting somewhere. A story can be told in one part, many parts, or no parts. One part would be a standard arc of practice with a singular point of climax. Many parts would be like an anthology. No parts creates the illusion of reality or the idea that the time in the story is happening in the time that we are experiencing in our lives at that moment, or simply in real time. I think an example of a story that takes place in one part with a singular point of climax that's easy to see is Star Wars. A story that takes place in many parts could be an anthology of sorts like 2001: A Space Odyssey. And then a story that takes place in none, with the illusion of reality and time, is something like Before Sunrise or a lot of Linklater films. But then there are films that attempt all 3. I think you could say Pulp Fiction attempts all 3, Inception, Jeanne Dielman, Chungking Express, and Eternal Sunshine, as some examples. I've been thinking a lot about the state of film and the idea that people seem to want less and less to think and more to be invested or engaged or lost in a world. I was watching Christopher Nolan's Insomnia on the Criterion channel when something struck me. I thought about how when you're building a bridge, you need to use non-collapsible void forms to ensure that the bridge won't collapse. So things like, really strong metal as opposed to a flimsy wood. And I was thinking about how the state of film is becoming a state of non-collapsible void forms in art, or non-collapsible void films. This is the criteria that I've at least been considering for non-collapsible void films, or non-collapsible void forms in art. Art that is well produced in all aspects. It prevents the audience from thought. It creates a complex visual and auditory world so the audience doesn't have to imagine. It presents forces and characters of good and bad. The good is clear, but has inclination to bad. The bad is clear, but has inclination to good. There is no complete spectrum of gray. Only shades of black and shades of white. What I mean is kind of impossible to say that there is no complete spectrum. But I think somehow in non-collapsible void forms, the middle doesn't matter as much. You can get there by thinking of it as 2 halves that connect. So, this offers the option of interpretation and the illusion of understanding. The art may not rest upon a depth of thought, but it will not collapse. So, in conclusion, a non-collapsible void film is art that lets the audience turn off their senses and not have to think. But if they choose to think, the limited perspective offers answers. The audience is entertained and feels smart. Their body and mind are given both satisfaction and reward. When I think of someone like Stanley Kubrick, I perceive that he offers complex image that produces free thought, while Nolan numbs your mind with professional image, inducing his thought. Both are control, both occur without most people knowing it. I used to think that one was better than the other, but honestly, whatever makes an audience happy I think is best, and whatever makes the filmmaker happy is to make his best too. I began wondering, can a film transcend everything I'm saying? Basically, is it possible to tell a story that doesn't begin and end? And so I started thinking about television and reality TV. Television ends, it just goes on for longer. I see a film as an isolated drug trip, good or bad. And television is like enjoying being high or binge drinking for as long as you can. But still, a drug trip and binging has to end at some point. If you were to Google what the definition of art is, you would read art is the expression or application of human creative skill and imagination, typically in a visual form such as painting or sculpture, producing works to be appreciated primarily for their beauty or emotional power. This sounds silly, but the only films that don't end are kind of the ones that carry on in your mind. They become a part of your own personal story. I think that Wim Wenders does it best when trying to transcend all of this beginning and ending. He has a formula for it, it seems. A lot of his films start out with a wandering man outside of society meeting a young person in society. The young person spends time with the wandering man and gives them meaning. Then, the wandering man takes the lessons and helps the young person integrate into society better. Once the young person is integrated, the man wanders back out of society and continues to wander for who knows how long. This happens in his films Alice in the Cities, Paris, Texas, and Perfect Days. It seems that even though there is a beginning and ending, Wim Wenders always keeps us in the middle. I wish I'd bought the acting book, but I remember being in a bookstore one time, and I opened up an acting book to a random page, and it said to remember that you were always in the middle. No matter what scene you're in, you're always in the middle of that character's life. It's complicated to always be in the middle. There's a tendency to want to go one way or another. This is why non-collapsible void films are so fascinating, because they keep you on each end, and they keep you leaning towards the middle, but never needing to fully get there, and feeling supported the whole time. The truth is, I was trying to find a way to not end this so I could be profound or something, but that would be annoying and ridiculous, and it would make people pissed off, and honestly it would piss me off to end things that way too, so I'm just not going to do that. But I did think back to the definition of art: beauty and emotion. Maybe art has to start and stop because emotions start and stop. You can't have one emotion consistently forever. They come and they go, and that's what makes them special and profound and make you actually feel something. I often think about my grandfather, someone who probably read 3 books a week. He graduated high school at 16. He took the bar and passed it with barely studying. He had all this information, all the knowledge in the world, all the cross-contextualized information he could put together, all this stuff, all the newspapers he read every day, all the crossword puzzles, everything he took in, everything he knew, all the crazy people he met, all the information he had, and he never wrote any of it down. All those stories, all of it is lost, all of it is gone. So maybe it doesn't matter what movies are or what they're doing or how they're making people think or feel. Maybe we should just be lucky that we have a medium. We live in a time when there is a medium that we can express these things and see these things and get these stories and get to experience these amazing emotions and feel these amazing things with all these other people. And that's why the theater experience is so fucking powerful, and it's so fucking sad that we're losing it. Because it was a place for everyone in the community, or wherever you live, or whatever city or town or whatever you're in, to come together and feel the things that we would have lost otherwise, that were just in my grandfather's head and are now on the ground.